The Arabian Gulf was once a quiet haven of sand dunes, pearl fishing and Bedouin tribes. But today, with its ever-growing skyline, it paints a very different picture.
But nowhere have things changed more or faster than here in the tiny nation of Qatar.
Alongside its skyscrapers, the art scene in Qatar has exploded. And women are leading the way. Compass is meeting the female creatives who are changing not only Qatar's cultural landscape, but also that of the rest of the world. It's a country on an ambitious cultural mission, hosting art's biggest names in world-class museums. And now home to some of the most expensive pieces ever sold. Leading Qatar's charge on the art world is a woman, Her Excellency Sheikha Al Mayasa, the sister of the ruling emir, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. She spent record sums putting the country on a cultural fast track. But while the Sheikha may be the most recognizable face of Qatar's artistic evolution, she's certainly not alone.
Compass is in Qatar's capital, Doha, to meet some of the women involved in an arts and culture scene that is growing as fast as the city itself.
From executives at the top of the film industry to young artists coming into the limelight.
We are given a platform where we can speak our mind.
I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I was from UAE or Saudi and a female. No way.
We know how to push the boundaries without making waves that could drown us.
This is us, this is how we live, this is who we are.
This is the story of the female artists of Qatar, the challenges they face and the impact their work has had on their country. Artists aren't usually shy about challenging society's limits. In this episode, I want to explore how far they can go when that society is bound by tradition.
But first, I've got a party to go to.
This is the opening night of the Ajyal Film Festival in Doha, Qatar's capital city. For such a small nation, Qatar's film industry certainly has its fair share of glitz and glamour. It's tiny compared to the likes of Hollywood, but it's having a huge impact when it comes to raising the profile of Arab cinema. In the last 4 years, 5 films supported by the Doha Film Institute were nominated for an Oscar. Around half the filmmakers it supports are female.
Qatari woman has a voice and they are not afraid to make the world hear it.
Women are the source, the power in our families, the power behind everything in our societies.
Here at this year's Ajyal Film Festival, 51 of the 81 movies being shown are by female filmmakers. That focus on female talent goes from the young filmmakers walking the red carpet for the first time to the person at the top of the film industry.
Fatma Al-Romahi has been a key influencer in the Doha film scene since 2014. And last year was named one of the 500 most influential people in the world of entertainment.
As a region, we've been misunderstood for decades now, not for centuries. We've been misunderstood and we've been misrepresented in the media over the world. So it's so important for people to take charge of their own narrative and they tell the story the way it should be told.
If you were watching the 2018 Oscars closely, you might have spotted Fatma on the red carpet. She was there at the Academy's invite in response to Qatar's growing profile in the international film industry.
When I go anywhere in the world and they see me in my hijab, they look at, oh, how is it for you in your country? And when I start talking, they feel bad about their situation because we really have an amazing structure here for women. If you go to the universities, for example, you will see the number of women graduating triple the number of men every year. And you will see, for example, in films, we have more women than men in filmmaking. The challenge now for women is how to balance, because they also study, they also work, they also have families.
Why do you think women are so interested in filmmaking in Qatar? Do they have things they want to say through films?
They're not different from women all over the world who have stories to tell, who think that the stories have been told so far from one perspective, and we have to have different perspectives. No person in the world can walk on one leg. You have to have both. You have to have both voices of the society to tell a story, or your story will be only told in half.
What is the situation with censorship here? Do you face any of it, and do you feel like it's been happening in arts and culture industry, and is it blocking people from creating more?
We live in a community that we understand, so we know what works and we know how to push the envelope, we know how to push the boundaries. And you have to be smart in these ways, and you have to be balanced, and you have to know your audience that you're programming for.
At times, those boundaries have been pushed a little too far for some conservative quarters of the Qatari society. When this Damien Hirst sculpture first appeared in 2013, it caused an outcry on social media.
It's just the stages of a baby, like how it develops in a mother's womb. That series of sculptures got so much backlash. When they were first revealed, they were instantly covered.
It's not an easy process to do, to have that balance, but we always try to push a little bit, but push it to change in a positive way the community. And communities always, you'll find the resistance in anything that you do. And that's okay, because it's another voice that you have to listen to, and you have to understand, and you have to work harder to get them to understand what you do.
The issue they're fighting against doesn't really make sense. I knew that time when I first heard about this that the sculptures were not going anywhere. They were commissioned for us, and whoever made that decision, honestly, to leave it where it is, made the best decision, because honestly, I know people are going to change at some point.
There's an underlying message in everything that we do, at least for me. That's where I put my focus, is trying to have these underlying messages through film.
Noof Al Sulaiti has an entry in the Ajal Festival.
It's called Gub Gub. It's about a girl called Jawahir that goes crab hunting with her brother and her father, and how her father does not encourage her as much as he encouraged the son. So she feels like she's not valued as much.
What are you trying to say? Anything about Qatari society at all?
There are a lot of girls here, I feel like, that depend on others for encouragement. So I feel like I want little girls to believe that they can do anything they set their minds to, and to encourage themselves and not have to rely on a father figure or a brother figure or any other figure in that matter to push them, that they can push themselves no matter what.
What does your family think about you being a filmmaker?
I'm not gonna lie, it was hard at first to explain to my parents I have to stay out of the house for like 14 hours a day to film a film. They don't understand at the beginning, but it took some time, and now they are very, very supportive.
Do you feel like the culture in Qatar encourages women to take part in arts and culture?
I would say it's, yes, we have a lot of encouragements from different industries, from different companies, from people like Sheikha Moza and other Sheikha Hind, Sheikha Mayasa. They're all encouraging of that thing. There are still people that maybe do not agree with it, but it is great seeing people try harder and keep going. And that's where it just keeps pushing and pushing, and we'll have, inshallah, sometime in the future, like a huge industry filled with women.
But film is not the only way the Qatari culture scene is evolving. The international art world has also felt the effect of the country's cultural push, and women have been at the helm of that too. It's bought several of the world's most expensive paintings, including The Card Players by Paul Cézanne for a rumoured $250 million. And this ever-growing collection of valuables is housed in the country's statement futuristic galleries, including the brand new National Museum, which cost an estimated $434 million.
Whether it's with our collections, with our museums, with our audience, with our professionals, with our artists, it all has to come from within. It can't be all outsourced from outside, then there's no sustainability there.
Reem Al-Thani is head of exhibitions at Qatar Museums.
You see rapid development happening all around us, and this has been the theme or the life of Qatar for such a long time now. If you look back in history, if you go back a few years, like starting the beginning of the 50s to the end of the 60s, you really start to see that this was a male-dominated sector. A delegation just went to Russia for the Cultural Forum, and most of it was women. CEOs, directors, cultural institutions. There's a huge drive for that. As we go, as you know, when you're starting something new in a country, you also have to start really slow, but then it goes really fast once people are more open to it and see the chance for it to happen. Right now, we are at the point where you could be anything you set your mind to, whether you want to be an astronaut or you really want to sit at home, and there's no at all any kind of boundary for you. It's not a necessary thing for us to say we have that many women and that many men. We never counted how many women artists versus how many men artists, because to us, you are an artist, you are a creative person, and you have a voice, and we need to show that voice.
Is Qatar ever going to franchise any big Western museum brand?
It's not for us. We have so much more going on for us than to franchise at this point. The dependency and the growth of the art scene is actually from within. We're not competing with what's happening outside. We're not expecting it to come from outside. We are actually generating it from inside.
In other Gulf countries, the strategy has sometimes been to buy in some of the most iconic art brands in the world in a bid to boost their own cultural identity. In 2017, Abu Dhabi opened its own Louvre Museum after paying France an estimated $525 million to use the name.
Here, the tactic seems to be to cultivate from within, especially now after the blockade, in order to reap the benefits in years to come.
My name is Ghada Al-Khater. I'm a visual artist. I call myself an artoonist based on my different approach to political cartoons and art.
Much of Ghada's recent work is focused on the blockade of Qatar, which began in June 2017.
It's 1 week since Qatar became embroiled in a diplomatic crisis that has engulfed this region. Neighbouring Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates have cut their sea, air and land links to Qatar, isolating the country.
Shortly after the country was cut off, this image of the emir began appearing all around Doha. Now it's seen everywhere in the city, from buildings to bumper stickers. The artistic community also reacted, inspired by a deep sense of nationalism.
There was an outpour of creativity. There was this new wave of, oh wow, now we realized how important art is, how it's part of, telling history, of telling a moment in time. And I think a lot of pain drives creativity.
We saw a lot of things that we didn't see before. First of all, how strong the Qatari are and how we took care of each other, and we were just one. And each one had thing to say and to show.
I think it's the first time Qatar has witnessed anything, any sort of situation where the whole country got affected as a whole. My work was more of a reaction to things taking place, and I chose the satire, humor aspect of it, trying to talk about really serious issues, but trying to find mainstream methods of communicating a language, because I wanted it to be accessible to both locals and the people of Qatar, like people living here, expats who don't speak Arabic, because they witnessed it as well, and they felt it, and they were part of that conversation as well.
What does the Qatari society expect from you? I mean, do they expect you to be an artist, or like, what is a Qatari woman expected to be?
I think we can compare ourselves to, 50s, 60s America. So we kind of are now shifting, we are in the moment where we're shifting towards the female that works and that earns her standing point, whether working, whether in the art world, whether, you know what I mean? And you sort of grow up most females grow up in a society where they're encouraged to get married, have kids. And you see that that's changing, not in the sense that women don't want to, but they also think about their careers. They think about, well, I want to achieve this, I want to do this. And because these platforms exist, they can do that.
What kind of challenges do you face as a Qatari female artist?
So far, no, I haven't faced any. It's the effort we have to now do outside of Qatar, which is more important. I think the challenge is there, whether we're for females or males. It's to break through the notion that we are an extension of Saudi, that the Middle East is that one region that is like muddled into one another, that, and we're very different. Each culture is different, and people have different voices and works. I did an artist in residency in Paris, and just talking to some of the residents there and participating in some workshops where I had to talk about my work. And then they say, I've had people come up to me and say, but you're a girl and you're doing politics. You can do this in your country. You can talk about these issues, but and everything came down to you're a girl, and you can do this. And it was interesting to see how I'm perceived in their eyes.
The transformation that followed the blockade of Qatar is only the latest in a series of dramatic changes the country has faced over the past few decades. For more than 1,000 years, Qatar's industry was entirely centered around fishing and the pearl trade. In 1949, Qatar exported its first oil and everything changed. Slowly at first, but soon enough, at breakneck speed, Qatar evolved from a sleepy, sandy peninsula to a modern country of lights with a gilded skyline unrecognizable to those of the older generation.
My grandmother, she's in her 80s, late 80s, and she don't go out. She's like, Fahad, I cannot identify the neighborhood. I don't know where is my friend where you used to live. I don't know where's the shop I used to buy.
Fahad Al-Obeidli is a Qatari artist and curator who recently presented an exhibition called Feminism is a Voice. It highlights the work of female artists with interesting perspectives on finding an identity in the middle of this fast-changing society.
And I was like always asking myself, what feminism mean to me, even as a male? For the girls, basically, it's to speak freely, to be taken seriously, and to acknowledge what they have done so far. Usually, like parents here, they encourage their kids to go to oil, science, medical, legal, banking, but like those girls really fight on a daily basis to really get, first of all, art education, and they want to express themselves or like take themselves seriously in the art scene here in Doha or outside of Doha.
And they have to fight for this.
Yeah, because like in the end, our parents or our grandfathers, they grow up in an environment that everyone working in the business field, not very artistic field. and because it's considered as like not profitable. Like my father used to tell me that, like he was telling me like, oh, when are you gonna get a real job? I'm like, I have a real job. So, but for them it's like different point of view of what career mean, and so even me as male as well, like that affected me.
I do look forward to a time where we'll have more male artists, because it seems just from what it looks like that they're pressured not to apply to like an art school, let's say, or like just go to pursue like their art career. So I'd be happy if there were more people that are honest and about what they want to do.
The tension created by Qatar's fast-paced transformation is a theme popular with young artists here.
I'm just very interested to talk about what it's like to be, you know, somebody like me in this age, in this place. And, you know, little by little, I try to incorporate things that, you know, describe who I am, describe where I come from. And while they're subtle, I try to focus on adding them more and more to my work.
What is it like being like you in this age today?
When I was younger, there weren't many artists like me, let's say. I just didn't find what I wanted to see. People actually do tell you like, hey, you don't look like an artist. Like you can't be an artist, you don't look like an artist. Or, oh, you don't look like you're working so hard. You know what I mean? Like
Who tells you that?
I wouldn't like direct it at somebody. It's so subtle that it's something you feel like is being put on you just by the way people treat you. As a Qatari woman, you are definitely expected to finish your education, be the best at it. They stress this part more than men. Men can fail in their education, but still get the same opportunities you do. You need to finish everything. You need a degree. You need to like have an impressive CV.
The evolution of identity in Qatar is clear in the themes tackled by the country's emerging artists and filmmakers.
My name is Aisha Ahmed Shamakh. I'm a director of the film Millennials. It's a short documentary film about 6 people from this generation. Even though there are different nationalities, different backgrounds, however, they do share the same experiences, same thoughts, and they have their own way to communicate, which is very interesting because it's all because of technology and social media. It's the one comment that this generation shares all over the world. And wherever you live, wherever you go, us, the millennials, we can communicate with each other.
So you being a filmmaker, is it seen unusual in traditional family circles, for example?
My family are very supportive. This is how I can express myself. This is my art. So I'm very lucky to have people who support my vision and to understand it and just to let me be whoever I want to be. I'm not gonna deny that there's a picture or perspective of us, the Arab women, in the media, which is totally wrong. You know, like, people still think that, we live in a desert, which is, it's silly. I feel like film can say so much about not just the Arab women, but the Arab people all in general. And I can just show that without even speaking in one word, that this is us, this is how we live, this is who we are, you know?
The female artists of Qatar are making big waves with their work and the way they're choosing to live their lives. They're responding to change within their country, but also sending a message to the rest of the world that outdated stereotypes of women have no place here.
The art scene is the best place to say something.
It's in our hands now to go out and create more films, to have more of an impact, that goes globally.
My daughter will look at the TV and say, I can be that.
Change may be slower than some would like, but it's undeniably happening.
This sculpture was covered up for 5 years after a backlash on social media over nudity, but today it stands proudly on display to the public, evidence of changing attitudes. It's exciting to think what modernization means for the art world of Qatar, but what I've realized is that the Western version of modernity may not be what female artists and decision makers of Qatar have in mind. They are building their own vision, and whatever happens, it's clear that women will be front and center.